In this session, we'll discuss a second way in which we can achieve sustainable consumption. We'll look at ways in which we can consume less. At present, many policy measures are aimed at reducing the impact of consumption. So what scope is there for policymakers to consider measures that will cut consumption? One of the challenges is that even if consumption levels dropped in developed countries, overall global consumption may increase anyway as developing nations grow their economies and societies. There is plenty of scope for growth in these countries if you consider that the average African only uses a quarter of the resources the average European does. The average Asian uses only a third. On the other hand, the average European citizen uses half the resources of a citizen in the USA, Canada, or Australia. Economic growth doesn't always mean a corresponding growth in pressure on resources. There are instances where growth has been achieved without the same increase in the use of resources. But is that enough? Some think that we need to go further. They would like to see no growth in consumption or production. This is known as zero growth. Others would prefer a reduction of current production and consumption levels. This is known as degrowth. What do you think we should do? Let's look at an example from the food sector. On average, EU citizens rely on meat for 60% of their protein intake. Meat requires huge amounts of inputs in terms of water, land and feed. The pressure meat places on resources is made worse by the fact that, on average, EU citizens eat about 50% more protein than they need. It has been estimated that if people in the EU halved their meat and dairy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture would drop by 25 to 40%. Nitrogen emissions would decrease by 40%. Even where the environmental impact of individual products has been cut, the sheer volume we consume them in may undo this reduction. This is called the rebound effect. For instance, people buy more clothes and wear them for shorter periods of time. They like to keep up with fashions and trends. This goes not just for clothes, but for electronic gadgets, cars, and overseas holiday destinations as well, to name only a few. Reversing these trends will require people to make significant changes. Some changes people will be happy to make on their own. Other changes may have to be directed by policymakers from above. The question is, would you be willing to reduce your personal consumption voluntarily? And if so, what would you change? Some of the current increase in consumption is accelerated by the relatively short lifespan of certain products, a situation that is made worse by the fact that sometimes replacing a broken product is cheaper than having it repaired. In some instances, technological advances mean a product has been overtaken by a quicker, more powerful, or more useful alternative. Nor is it unknown for products to be designed to fail after a period of time. Often the culprit is only a small component. That raises the possibility of looking at ways to increase the longevity of products. Should the EU consider this? If so, how? Maybe making products modular could increase their lifespan by allowing easy replacement of the aging or broken part. Alternatively, manufacturers could be obliged to take back broken products or provide longer guarantees. This would encourage them to design more durable products in the first place. Citizens, for their part, could refuse to buy short-lived products. People, though, are constantly being encouraged to buy new things, even when the existing product still works well. Advertising, for example, is a powerful tool used by manufacturers and retailers to generate demand. That raises a question about the role of advertising in sustainable consumption. Should regulators be looking at a relationship between advertising and consumption and sustainability? Or is that going too far? One way in which policymakers can reduce the impact of advertising on consumption is to ban promotional campaigns that encourage consumption. By the same token, they can stimulate campaigns that highlight sustainable products. Similarly, companies can try to sway consumers to buy their products by stressing their social and green credentials. Sometimes, though, the image projected by a company doesn't align with the reality of its environmental and social policies. This is called greenwashing. Policymakers could also seek to use consumption taxes to increase sustainability. This would mean people would be taxed on the resources they use. The European Commission is encouraging member states to increase the use of consumption taxes such as sales taxes, energy taxes, special levies, excises and duties. These taxes could be linked specifically to resource and material use. This could go hand in hand with a shift away from labour taxes, so the overall tax revenue remains the same. What do you think about this? One of the key concerns in relation to taxation is that it is fair for all. How should the tax burden be spread amongst citizens to avoid social inequality? Moreover, taxes are generally a politically sensitive topic. We would now like to invite you to discuss some issues relating to the topics highlighted in this video.